Chapter 3000. Oh, my God, this won't do, quick. Get out of the way. Its voice was sharp. You can't touch its power. There is. Before it could finish its words, the power of the two people had already collided. Bang! Chu Tiany's body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow in an instant. With a boom, he fell from the sky. His strength was already very close to the earth martial arts realm. At the same time, it was enhanced by his special bloodline. The real strength that he could display was extremely powerful, almost reaching the middle stage of the earth martial arts realm, level 4 or 5. But even so, when he came into contact with the power transmitted from the other party's body, he felt as if his power was being corroded and softened. With a boom, the other party broke through his defense line and directly blasted him. He looked surprised and didn't know what was going on. The opponent was obviously only at level 9 of the human martial arts realm. When Chu Tiany was thinking about this, his body had already fallen to the ground. And the Yin Demon King's body also fiercely retreated. Its body rolled, looking at Chu Tiany's direction, and it laughed sharply. Ha ha ha. Good, good, good. I didn't expect you to have an expert at level 9 of the human martial arts realm. This is very good. Although I can't get Ji Feiyu's core vitality for the time being, I can get your profound qi, which is enough for me to accumulate enough strength to accept the blood sacrifice of family Ji. Ha ha ha. Its laughter was wild, and it was really very happy. With its current form and strength, it didn't dare to go to the higher level star area. Otherwise, if it was discovered, it would be devoured and killed in minutes. It was known that it was the soul of the demon clan, and its power was a great supplement for those who practiced the evil arts. Its power was comparable to that of countless evil ghosts and ghosts. But now, in front of it, there was a lone expert at level 9 of the human martial arts realm. What did this mean? It meant that it could easily kill and absorb the opponent's power. The recovery and help that the opponent brought to it was no different from Ji Feiyu's profound qi. It was even stronger than its own. The Yin Demon King laughed even louder as he thought of this. It ignored Luo Qingtong and flew towards Chu Tiany wholeheartedly. After killing this 9th level human martial realm cultivator, then killing all the people present will be enough. As for Ji Feiyu, he would naturally be saved for the next blood curse. With that thought in mind, the Yin Demon King once again flew towards Chu Tiany. Its body tumbled in midair, seemingly illusory. Chu Tiany, on the other hand, was sent flying to the ground. If it wasn't for his special physique, he would have been seriously injured and unable to move. However, even if his body was special and could withstand the other party's attacks, he still couldn't get up for a while. Seeing that the Yin Demon King was about to reach Chu Tiany, Yin Yang hastily ran over. Don't! She stood in front of Chu Tiany and opened her arms to protect Chu Tiany behind her. Yin Yang, go away! Chu Tiany finally regained his senses. Seeing this scene, he was so anxious that his eyes almost popped out. He raised his hand to push Yin Yang away. However, it was too late. The Yin Demon King was much faster than him. Chapter 3001. Kiki, what a pair of lovebirds that share life and death together. Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. As it spoke, it clawed at Yin Yang and Chu Tiany, intending to pierce through their hearts. However, just as it raised its hand, in an instant, rip! In the sky, the sound of a sharp sword cutting through the air could be heard. In an instant, it rushed towards the Yin Demon King with a boom. Ha! The Yin Demon King felt the sharp aura behind him, but he didn't take it seriously at all. Among Luo Qingtong and the others, only this LV9 human martial realm cultivator was a slight threat to it. The others were all scrap metal that it could kill with a finger. The girl behind them, Luo Xiaoqi, might have some ability, but her strength wasn't even enough to fill the gaps between its teeth. After it killed the two people in front of it, it would deal with her. As it thought of this, it ignored the sword light that was slashing through the air. I have an invisible body. Do you think you can hurt me? It laughed heartily, looking extremely proud. Its hands didn't stop moving at all, and it didn't even look back. However, as soon as it finished speaking, its body was instantly split into pieces by a beam of sword light with a bang. Ah! The Yin Demon King screamed in a shrill voice. It had just laughed, and its laughter hadn't stopped yet. When it mixed with its shrill screams, it was indescribably eerie. As it screamed, Luo Qingtong's voice also sounded faintly. Of course, I can. As she spoke, she shook the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand and rushed towards the Yin Demon King again. After the latter's body was split into pieces, it reassembled again. However, it was obvious that its body was much thinner than before. The Yin Demon King's face was filled with disbelief and fear. It looked at Luo Qingtong and couldn't help but scream, "This is impossible. How could you hurt me?" Its voice was sharp, but Luo Qingtong didn't care about it at all. Kill it while it's weak. It had just been injured by her attack, and now was the time for it to attack. She couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with it. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she immediately slashed her sword towards the Yin Demon King. The latter already knew the power of Luo Qingtong's life and death yin-yang sword. Seeing the sword coming towards it, its body suddenly trembled, and it immediately dodged to the side. However, just as its body tilted to the side, a voice rang out. With a boom, Chu Tianyi's attack arrived. The latter had already recovered a little. When he thought of the claw that the Yin Devil King had slashed at him and Yen Yang, he was instantly filled with hostility. He directly attacked the Yin Devil King. The pitiful Yin Demon King had just dodged to the side, wanting to dodge Luo Qingtong's sword, but Chu Tianyi's attack blasted it back to its original position. It even crashed towards Luo Qingtong's sword. Rip! Its body was once again split into pieces by Luo Qingtong. Bastard! The Yin Demon King flew into a rage. After being slashed twice in a row, its body had become much dimmer. If this continued, it would definitely be destroyed by Luo Qingtong and Chu Tianyi's joint attack. As it thought of this, it immediately wanted to retreat. It had been careless this time. It didn't know that Luo Qingtong could actually hurt it. It would wait until it absorbed the power of the people whose family Ji had been sacrificed, then it would come back to settle the score with them. Chapter 3002. Translations. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed when she saw this scene. You want to leave? The smile on her lips was ice cold. Are you dreaming? As soon as she said those words, she shouted sternly. Humph. The latter had been waiting for a long time, but he didn't make a move without Luo Qingtong's order. Luo Qingtong planned everything carefully before taking action. Even if the Yin Demon King wasn't restrained by her life and death yin-yang sword, she wouldn't let him leave so easily. Otherwise, why would she release Little Pig and Tuanzi? Of course, it was to prepare for an emergency. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to stop them if something unexpected happened. From the looks of it, her arrangements were indeed correct. As soon as she finished speaking, Little Pig's figure instantly leaped up. With a boom, a huge claw descended from the sky and landed on the Yin Demon King's body. The latter's body was already half invisible in midair. He was a soul to begin with. He didn't expect Chu Tianyi to recover so quickly, so he was hit by the attack just now. Right now, all his attention was on Luo Qingtong and Chu Tianyi. He was afraid that the two of them would seize the opportunity to strike him again. If that happened, he wouldn't be able to leave this place. However, just as he was thinking this, Little Pig's attack had already arrived. The Yin Demon King didn't expect that there was something else that could hurt him besides Luo Qingtong and Chu Tianyi. Moreover, it was a mini pig. He was about to go crazy. Looking at little pig's true god claw, he couldn't dodge at all. He was slapped down from the sky by little pig. Luo Qingtong's figure leaped up at this moment. Her long sword instantly shattered the sky. The dark black death blade's light flickered and split the Yin Demon King in half again in an instant. Ah! The Yin Demon King screamed sharply. He couldn't care less about anything else. Its body condensed again in mid-air, but it was extremely thin and weak. In mid-air, it was like a cloud of smoke, and any breeze could blow it away. After being slashed by Luo Qingtong's life and death yin-yang sword 3 times in a row, the Yin Demon King couldn't reform his body. He came here arrogantly and complacently. He didn't put Luo Qingtong and the others in his eyes at all. Now, he realized how ridiculous his thoughts were. Even a pig by Luo Qingtong's side could deal with him. Not to mention, the long sword in her hand completely ignored its power and aura, and only hoped to slash its soul into pieces. The Yin Devil King had never met someone like Luo Qingtong. She actually used the power of a Saint Master to make it unable to fight back at all. Is she still a human? The Yin Demon King's strength was enough to deal with an Earth Martial Realm expert even if he didn't have a body and only had soul power. Not to mention that Chu Tianyi was beaten to such a state by him just now. However, he was completely restrained by Luo Qingtong. The Yin Demon King's body twisted in midair. He couldn't hold on any longer. In the blink of an eye, it turned into smoke and dispersed in all directions. Boom! The Yin Demon King's aura spread in all directions. He wanted to escape from the family Ji's courtyard. Ji Feiyu and the others were stunned by the strength displayed by Luo Qingtong, Chu Tianyi, and Little Pig. They quickly regained their senses and shouted, "Little Seven! Be careful!" Chapter 3003. Translations. Yen Yang picked up the white jade zither that had fallen to the ground in order to protect Chu Tianyi. Clang, clang, clang. Her 5 fingers strummed the strings. In an instant, a clear and pleasant sound came from the white jade zither. The sound of the zither sounded like clear spring water, but at the same time, it was sonorous and filled with murderous intent. The sound of the zither rose in spirals, and at the same time, it carried the meaning of Buddhism. It was actually the Sanskrit zither music. As soon as the music came out, the aura of the Yin Demon King's power dissipated in all directions. It was like snow meeting the sun, and it slowly melted in midair. This was because its power had been divided into many parts, and each part was not very strong. This was why Yen Yang was able to purify its power so easily. As the Yin Demon King's power was being purified and melted, with a swoosh, a ball of aura that looked no different from other auras penetrated the area controlled by Yen Yang's Sanskrit zither music, and rushed towards the sky above the family Ji's courtyard. Inside, there was a small round black pearl that was surrounded by the aura. At this moment, the Yin Demon King's sinister and terrifying face was twisted inside as she rushed forward. It was obvious that this was the core of its body. As long as this pearl was still there, the Yin Demon King would not die. Once it returned to the statue to recuperate and absorb the power of the blood sacrifice of the family Ji's people, it wanted Luo Qingtong and the others to die. It wanted them dead, no matter the cost. Its voice was sharp, and it screamed silently as it rushed out of the family Ji's courtyard. The ball of aura had already been hidden in the air. The Yin Demon King had dispersed all the aura and power in its body so that it could safely escape under the cover of its power and aura. However, just as it was about to break through the sky above the family Ji's courtyard and disappear into the void, with a swoosh, a sword light blocked its path. Boom! Luo Qingtong held the life and death yin-yang sword horizontally. The side of the blade was facing the Yin Demon King. As long as the other party rushed over, they would definitely be split in half. The Yin Demon King let out a sharp shriek. It had no idea how Luo Qingtong had discovered it. There were so many auras, and he was completely invisible. Damn it, could this woman be a monster? The Yin Demon King was flustered and exasperated, but he didn't dare to force his way in. It had already experienced the power of Luo Qingtong's life and death yin-yang sword, which was especially effective against souls like it. Therefore, it hurriedly braked and rushed in another direction. However, as soon as it moved, Luo Qingtong seemed to have seen through its thoughts and movements. With a swoosh, she changed the life and death yin and yang sword in her hand again, from blocking to hacking. A ray of sword light instantly descended from the sky like a Milky Way. Boom! The demonic bead in the Yin Demon King's body was struck. In an instant, an incomparably mournful sound rang out, and countless amounts of demonic yin aura rushed out of the demonic bead in an instant. No! No! This is impossible. The Yin Demon King's voice was shrill and struggling. It had never expected that Luo Qingtong would be able to see through its movements. Not only that, she knew it like the back of her hand. What was going on? The baleful Yin Devil Qi was originally wreaking havoc in the surroundings. Without its master's control, this kind of baleful Yin Devil Qi would only become a huge disaster. If Luo Qingtong didn't use the heavenly spirit would see to eliminate the baleful Yin Devil Qi, the baleful Yin Devil Qi that spread out would be enough to turn the entire Dongting region into a land of death. The entire Dongting region would be barren and desolate, with not even a blade of grass growing. This was the true terror of the Devil Clan's power. This was why Little Pig was so shocked when he saw the Yin Demon King and discovered that it was a Devil Clan member. When Luo Qingtong finished off the Yin Demon King, the sun was rising in the family Ji. Chapter 3005. Ji Feiyu and the others should have turned into a pile of bones by now, right? Ji Yuankuan's expression was cold. He looked at the people from the family Ji who came one after another with an indescribable ferocious expression on his face. These people still want to push Ji Feiyu and the others to power. It's a pity that they can only push a group of dead people. Ji Yuankuan's expression was cold, and Ji Fighting's heart was very satisfied. That's right. These people thought that the family Ji would change in the future and we would lose power. Unfortunately, before we lost power, they were already dead. In fact, it even became part of our strength. Thinking of this, Ji Fighting was a little excited. That lord said that as long as they did their best, they could also get a share of the power of the family Ji's blood sacrifice. Thinking of the strength he could have by then, he felt very comfortable in his heart. The only regret was that after that lord gained power, he might not rely on them in the future. Although they could obtain a strong power for a while. But because of this, they also cut off their own way out. The entire family Ji was gone. How were they going to continue their bloodline and power in the future? Damn it, this could have been avoided. If that the *TCH Luo Xiaoqi hadn't come, they would still be the masters of the family Ji. At that time, they would slowly take away the lives of Ji Feiyu and his son. They would not only gain power, but also prevent that lord from escaping their control. As for the Ji family, it would completely belong to them. In the end, it was all ruined by that *TCH Luo Qingtong. Ji Fighting's face instantly darkened as he thought of this. He looked at Ji Yuankuan coldly and said, "Father, since these people are going to die anyway, why don't we let them take a good look at the fate of Ji Feiyu and the others before they die? Let them know why they ended up like this and how blind they are." Thinking of Ji Fighting's words, Ji Yuankuan also agreed in his heart. Okay, go ahead. Remember to make a big fuss. You must be discovered. At that time, you can drag Ji Feiyu and the others' corpses to the family Ji. Let the people outside see clearly what they are. Ji Yuankuan's face was gloomy. The word delay completely exposed his intentions. Even if he died, he would not let Ji Feiyu and Luo Qingtong have any peace. He wanted to hang their corpses in front of everyone. As soon as Ji Yuankuan finished speaking, Ji Fighting instantly smiled. His father had the same thoughts as him. The two of them were truly father and son. "Don't worry, father," he said darkly. "Of course, I will take care of this matter properly." Ji Fighting hated Ji Feiyu and Luo Qingtong. Naturally, he was prepared to humiliate them. Not to mention dragging Ji Feiyu and the others into the family Ji, he would even strip them naked. He would make them feel ashamed even if they died. With this thought, he immediately turned around and rushed to Ji Feiyu's courtyard with his people. At this moment, the heavenly spirit wood seed released by Luo Qingtong had absorbed enough demonic energy and returned to Luo Qingtong's storage ring. It still needed to be digested. When Luo Qingtong planted it underground, it would immediately take root and sprout. When it returned to Luo Qingtong's storage ring, Ji Feiyu, Ji Yuankuan, and the others, who were stunned, came back to their senses. This. However, that man had also tried his best to push her away. Thinking back to how Chu Tianyi panicked and tried to push her away, Hu Yinyang's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Luo Qingtong looked at the interaction between the two of them and couldn't help but smile. Just as she was about to speak, suddenly, bang! The door of the courtyard was kicked open. Then, Ji Fighting rushed in with a group of his trusted aides. "Search! Drag out all the corpses for me. Strip them naked and tie them to wooden boards. Parade them through the streets." Chapter 3007. He looked at Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others who came out of the inner court. He was shocked and frightened. You guys. You're not dead yet, are you?" Luo Qingtong's face was indifferent. She looked at him and said with a chuckle, "Young Master Ji, it's hard for you to come and collect the bodies. But what you said just now, I don't know if it was your idea or your father's idea." Luo Qingtong had a sweet smile on her face, and even her voice was unusually soft and gentle. But in Ji Fighting's eyes, she was as terrifying as a demon. Luo Qingtong and the others didn't die. Then that lord, Ji Fighting's face was trembling with fear. He didn't dare to think about what had happened. Could it be that something happened to that lord? So, Luo Shaoqi and the others could escape. Thinking of this, he instantly felt a surge of confidence in his heart. But this confidence was instantly emptied by Luo Qingtong's next words. Luo Qingtong said, "Last night, an uninvited guest came to us and said that he would take our lives for you. I don't know if that's the case." As soon as she said that, Ji Fighting's mouth trembled. That's right, that lord had come. And in the case that he came, Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu were still alive. That's right, Ji Feiyu and the others were still alive. Ji Fighting looked at Ji Feiyu and the others behind Luo Qingtong. Their complexions were very good. Obviously, they weren't threatened by the arrival of that lord. Even a fierce battle didn't happen. What did this mean? Ji Fighting's legs trembled for a while, and he almost couldn't stand firm anymore. But the confidants around him didn't know anything. When they heard Luo Qingtong's words, they immediately sneered, "So what? But you guys are pretty lucky." No one knew that the Yin Demon King had come to find Luo Qingtong and the others yesterday and had been killed by Luo Qingtong and the others. They thought that Ji Fighting still had someone backing him up. With that thought in mind, they said fearlessly, "Since you're not dead yet, come with us to the family Ji obediently. At that time, I'll let you die a quick death." Everyone's expression was ferocious, but Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She raised her eyebrows and looked at Ji Fighting, whose face was ashen and couldn't even stand properly. She chuckled and said, "Okay, but before that, you have to let me take something first, and that is, your lives." As soon as she said that, Ji Fighting let out a cry of despair. Then, he rushed out of the door. He hated himself for being such a busybody. Why did he have to come and see Luo Qingtong and the others' corpses? Why did he have to collect their corpses? Now, he had sent himself to Luo Qingtong and the others. "It's okay, it's okay." Ji Fighting kept comforting himself. Luo Qingtong and the others had already fought with that lord, so they might not have suffered any internal injuries. His men were still there. As long as those people blocked them for a while, he could safely escape from here. At that time, he would immediately leave the Dongting region and wouldn't give Luo Qingtong any chance to catch up to him. Chapter 3008. Behind him, there was a loud noise and the screams of the people he brought with him. Hearing those familiar voices, Ji Fighting's heart instantly shuddered. Then, with a bang, the loud noise came behind him in an instant. Ji Fighting didn't even have the ability to resist and was blasted into pieces by the attack of the loud noise. Before he died, he desperately opened his eyes and looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong. He saw Chu Tianyi standing in front of her, his face full of impatience and coldness. LV9 of the human martial realm. LV9 of the human martial realm. Ji Fighting's sharp scream was stuck in his throat and completely disappeared with his body in midair. He never thought that the guard beside Luo Qingtong was not only in the early stage of the human martial realm, but also in the 9th stage of the human martial realm. A guard in the 9th stage of the human martial realm. Who the hell was Luo Shaoqi? When Ji Fighting and his people completely disappeared, Luo Qingtong's face was indifferent. She looked at Ji Feiyu and others and said, "You go and send a letter to the family Nangong and ask them to help you clean up your family." Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly when she said this. She wanted to see what Ji Yuankuan was doing in the family Nangong. At this time, a group of people invited by Ji Yuankuan and the family Nangong looked at him in shock and said in disbelief, "Ji Yuankuan, you actually drugged us." Everyone couldn't hide their anger. They had been drugged by Ji Yuankuan and couldn't move. Everyone was paralyzed in their seats and looked at Ji Yuankuan, who was sitting on the main seat with a complacent face. You. They raised their hands and pointed at Ji Yuankuan, their voices trembling and almost unable to speak. The latter's expression was cold as he looked at them and coldly said, "What about me? What? You want to scold me?" As he said this, he suddenly raised his hand and grabbed an elder of the family Ji. He lifted his foot and stepped on the elder's foot. His voice was filled with hostility as he said coldly, "You people were still praising me in front of me, saying that it was God's blessing that I could inherit the family Ji. In the blink of an eye, you want to push Ji Feiyu and the others to the position of patriarch. Let me tell you, if they want to succeed the throne, they can. Wait until all of you are dead." As soon as he said this, the faces of the family Ji members trembled. They looked at Ji Yuankuan, almost unable to hide the fear in their hearts. "You. Ji Yuankuan, what exactly do you want?" What do you want?" "Of course I want you dead." Ji Yuankuan's voice was ice cold. In an instant, he waved his hand. Then, in the next second, a huge blood sacrifice array suddenly rose from the square below the martial arts field where everyone was at. Later, your strength and life force will be absorbed by this blood sacrifice array and turned into fertilizer for that lord to recover his true body. Are you happy? Ji Yuankuan's face was dark. At that time, he and Ji Fighting would also be able to obtain some benefits. After all, the Yin Demon King's recovery was through the two of them. It was the same for the blood curse from before. It was completely cast on Ji Yuanqing and Ji Feiyu through the two of them. Chapter 3009. When his voice rang out, the members of the Ji family wailed in anguish. They didn't expect Ji Yuankun to call them over with such an idea. He actually wanted to sacrifice the lives of the entire clan without hesitation. The family Ji members cursed Ji Yuankun and the others. The latter didn't care at all. It wasn't that he didn't give them a choice. But didn't they still choose Ji Feiyu and the others without hesitation? Since that was the case, then they would die with them. Thinking of this, Ji Yuankun looked coldly at the family Ji members and said, "By the way, I forgot to tell you that Ji Feiyu and Luo Shaoqi by his side are probably only corpses left now. Including the early-stage human martial arts realm guard behind her." "What? Do you think that Ji Feiyu and the others can deal with me after they have that person to rely on? Unfortunately, you're all wrong." When Ji Yuankun's words came out, the faces of the family Ji members turned even uglier. They originally thought that Ji Feiyu had the support of Luo Qingtong, the early-stage human martial arts realm expert behind him, and the support of the family Nangong. Naturally, he would be able to take over the family Ji. Therefore, they pushed the boat with the current. But who would have thought that Ji Yuankun had hidden other forces behind him? He actually killed Ji Feiyu and the others, including Luo Shaoqi and the early-stage human martial arts realm expert behind her. How did he suddenly become so powerful? The family Ji members didn't have time to think. They could only lie on the ground and beg Ji Yuankun for mercy. If he let them go, they would be willing to support Ji Yuankun again. However, Ji Yuankun ignored them. He had made a deal with the Yin Demon King long ago. How could he change it? Not to mention that these people were simply fickle. Previously, they were loudly asking him to return the power of the family head to Ji Yuanqing and the others. Now, they knew to beg for mercy. However, it was too late. Ji Yuankun sneered. He was only waiting for Ji fighting to bring the corpses of Ji Feiyu, Luo Qingtong, and the others, and then let these family Ji members know what uncontrollable despair was. Then, he would sacrifice them all. Thinking of this, the smile on his lips was cold. At this moment, there was a commotion outside. The noise was very noisy and messy. It sounded as if there were many people outside who were watching and making a ruckus. Ji Yuankun's smile deepened when he heard the commotion. It seemed that Feiyu and Luo Shaoqi's corpses were corpses of Luo's and the others. Being paraded through the streets and being surrounded by onlookers, he was afraid that Ji Feiyu and the others would lose face, right? Let them know what it meant to die feel. Just as he was thinking about this, a Ji family guard scrambled in from outside. He looked at Ji Yuankun and fell in front of him. Chapter 3010. Family Ji Master, you're right. It's indeed the family Ji. The real young master is back. As Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others appeared outside the family Ji. Behind them was a string of family Nangong elites. Chu Tianyi was injured earlier, so Luo Qingtong didn't let him come with them. Although he had a special body constitution, the Yin Demon King wasn't a human. Luo Qingtong considered that its demonic aura was extremely harmful to humans, and it wouldn't be good if Chu Tianyi's body was implanted with hidden dangers. Therefore, she let him stay in the family Ji's courtyard to recuperate, and let Yan Nyang stay there to accompany him. Although Yan Nyang was a little worried, she thought that there were people from the Nangong family. If they weren't so stupid, they wouldn't attack Luo Qingtong. After all, she and Chu Tianyi were still here, and they could deal with the family Nangong people at any time. With that thought in mind, she immediately agreed to it. Therefore, at this moment, only Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the family Nangong people appeared in the family Ji. Ji Yuankun was originally shocked when he heard Luo Qingtong's voice, but when he saw her, Ji Feiyu, and the family Nangong people coming over, he instantly clenched his teeth. B*TCH, what did you do to my son? Ji Yuankuan's face was filled with rage. He looked at Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others, who should have died without a burial place, and his heart sank. Like Ji Fighting, he already thought that the Yin Demon King had failed and was even killed by Luo Qingtong and the others. And when he saw that Chu Tianyi and Yen Yang were no longer by Luo Qingtong's side, he was even more certain of this fact in his heart. Damn it, that B*TCH's bodyguard could actually withstand that lord's attack. Ji Yuankuan's heart refused to believe this fact, but it was a foregone conclusion. Otherwise, how could Luo Qingtong and Ji Feiyu appear here? They were lucky that only a bodyguard and a maidservant died. This B*TCH. Ji Yuankuan thought that Chu Tianyi and Yen Yang were dead. He looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment and gloominess. He thought of Ji Fighting, who had brought people to the Ji family side courtyard to collect the corpse. He already knew that the other party was doomed. Damn it, he shouldn't have agreed to Feiyu's request at that time. Who knew that the B*TCH's bodyguard was so powerful? And when Ji Yuankuan's voice sounded, Luo Qingtong's voice was leisurely. The head of the family Ji really cares about your son. Unfortunately, the people around me were too heavy-handed. His body has already turned into ashes. I can't bring him to you. But I asked people to collect some pieces of flesh and clothes he dropped, as well as his jewelry. Please kindly accept them. As she said this, someone immediately sent a brocade box to Ji Yuankuan. The latter opened it, only to see broken clothes and flesh lying inside, and a jade pendant that Ji Fighting always carried with him. B*TCH. Ji Yuankuan's face was filled with rage. He looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong, and his eyes almost popped out of his head. This B*TCH actually killed his son. How dare she? How dare she? Ji Yuankuan's face was filled with rage, and Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. She looked at him and said coldly, "The head of the family Ji seems to be dissatisfied with what you see." Chapter 30:11. Luo Qingtong sneered. She had never been a person who was willing to suffer a loss. Speaking of which, Ji Yuankuan should really thank Ji Fighting for turning his body into ashes. Otherwise, Luo Qingtong would definitely get someone to tie his corpse up, just like what Ji Fighting and Ji Yuankuan wanted to do to her, Ji Feiyu, and the rest. They would parade his corpse through the streets. It was already merciful of her to only throw some minced meat and tattered clothes to him. He still dared to scold her. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She looked at Ji Yuankuan and laughed softly. It seems that the head of family Ji thinks that I'm not kind enough for not giving you a taste of your own medicine, right? It's fine. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into an incomparably evil and charming smile as she said to Ji Yuankuan, "When you die later, I'll satisfy your request." Chu Tianyi wasn't here right now, so she didn't have to worry about him not holding back. She would personally take care of this old man later. She would let the other party know that she wasn't someone to be trifled with. He actually dared to let the Yin Demon King kill her. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. When her voice rang out, Ji Yuankuan's voice also exploded as he shouted angrily at her, "Shut up! Do you really think that I can't do anything to you today? You brought the people of family Nangong here. Do you think that you can deal with me like this?" Ji Yuankuan's eyes were cold as he swept his gaze over the family Nangong behind Luo Qingtong. He sneered, "The family Nangong used to be a dog under my son's hands. It was so stupid that it was ridiculous. Now it's under your hands. What, do you want to take revenge on me? With just you?" When his words came out, the people of family Nangong were about to go crazy with anger. Ji Fighting had harmed Nangong Yenyu, and in the end, deceived the people of the Nangong family like fools. This was a thorn in their hearts, and they had yet to find Ji Yuankuan and Ji Fighting to settle the score. He was actually mocking them. The head of family Nangong was furious as he looked at Ji Yuankun and sneered, "So what if we're willing to be a dog under Miss Shaoqi? It's better than you deceiving, cheating, and robbing. The way you and your father do things is disgusting. Look at you, instead of being ashamed, you're proud of it. You want to drive a wedge between us and Miss Shaoqi." When the head of family Nangong's words, Ji Yuankun's face was also furious. He did want to drive a wedge between the Nangong family and Luo Qingtong, but they didn't fall for it. "Bitch!" He looked at Luo Qingtong fiercely, his face full of killing intent. The head of family Nangong's words were very clear. The reason why he helped Ji Feiyu and the others was not for anything else, but because of Luo Shaoqi. This bitch. Ever since she hooked up with Ji Feiyu, they had been having a bad year. Otherwise, they wouldn't have ended up like this. Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing, father and son, were no match for them. Not to mention the family Nangong and the other families. They wouldn't have found out what they had done in secret, and there wouldn't have been betrayal and family Ji's forced abdication. At that time, he would still be the head of the family Ji. So what if he did something disgraceful to Ji Feiyu and his father? Who dared to say anything bad about him? However, it was this bitch. It was her. Chapter 30:12. Because she had exposed them to the public and caused them to lose their reputation and become the enemy of all the families, the family Ji behind them demanded that they abdicate and return the power and position of the family head. Now, even his son had died in the hands of the other party. As for that lord, Ji Yuankun didn't know what had happened to him. But obviously, the appearance of Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others here meant that the lord's operation had failed. It was possible that he had escaped with serious injuries, or Ji Yuankun didn't dare to think further. In short, he had nothing left. He was just a stray dog that was about to meet its end. And all of this was thanks to Luo Shaoqi. When Ji Yuankun thought of this, he couldn't hold it in any longer. With a boom, he instantly charged toward Luo Qingtong. At the same time, he shouted sternly at this moment. "Activate the blood sacrifice array immediately. I want them dead." Ji Yuankun's expression was ferocious. If he couldn't have it, no one else could either. And Luo Qingtong and the others must die. They wanted to kill him, but they didn't have the strength to do so. Ji Yuankun sneered in his heart. This blood sacrifice array was prepared for that lord. But now, the other party was no longer here. It was very likely that he was already dead. Under such circumstances, the power of the blood sacrifice array could only be used by him. Although he couldn't completely absorb and transform the power of the blood sacrifice array because he didn't have the Yin Demon King's unique method, as long as he could obtain a small portion, it would be enough for him to kill Luo Qingtong and the others here. The other party actually dared to come to his door with great fanfare to deal with him. He was simply courting death. As Ji Yuankun sneered in his heart, the blood sacrifice array was activated. Rumble. Blood-colored lines flew across the sky. The blood sacrifice array, which was engraved and drawn on the basis of the Yin Demon King's unique demonic technique, was activated at Ji Yuankun's command. In an instant, the people from the family Ji were bound by the blood-colored lines that filled the sky. Their faces were filled with terror as they screamed and struggled with all their might, trying to break free from the binding of these blood-colored lines. However, they had already been drugged by Ji Yuankun. Now that they were lying in the blood sacrifice array, they couldn't move at all. The power of those blood-colored lines would not give them a chance to escape. They screamed with all their might, begging Ji Yuankun to let them go with tears streaming down their faces. They were willing to submit to Ji Yuankun and swear to heaven and earth that they would be loyal to Ji Yuankun and help him deal with Luo Qingtong and the others. However, at this moment, Ji Yuankun was already surrounded by family Nangong. So what if they pledged their loyalty to him? Weren't they still doomed? However, it would be different if they were sacrificed. If Ji Yuankuan could obtain a certain level of strength, he would definitely be able to leave calmly after killing Luo Qintong and the others. Without the Yin Demon King's unique technique, he would definitely suffer a backlash from absorbing the power of the blood sacrifice array. However, Ji Yuankuan couldn't care less at this moment. It's too late for you to beg me for mercy now. Just wait for your deaths. Also, Luo Xiaoqi, you slut, die. Ji Yuankuan's expression was ferocious as he ignored the pleas of the family Ji. Instead, he focused on killing Luo Qintong. Chapter 30:13. When his figure attacked, the family Nangong members' expressions were abnormally ugly and horrified. Ji Yuankuan was actually so deranged. These people from the family Ji were all his blood relatives. He actually wanted to sacrifice all of them. No one would have thought that Ji Yuankuan had gathered the family Ji members back with this idea. Therefore, it was already too late to stop him now. The blood sacrifice array was activated. The life force and strength of the family Ji members were instantly drawn into Ji Yuankuan in an endless stream. Originally, this strength would be transferred to the Yin Demon King after circulating in his body. But now, the Yin Demon King was dead. Therefore, all of this strength remained in Ji Yuankuan's body. Although he could only use a portion of it. Just this portion of strength was enough to allow his strength to skyrocket in a short period of time. In an instant, his strength was close to the early stage of the human martial arts realm. Moreover, this strength was still skyrocketing. Ha ha ha. Luo Xiaoqi, Ji Feiyu, and all of you from the family Nangong will die here today. Ji Yuankuan's voice was incomparably hearty as he laughed heartily. His laughter was proud and ruthless. He directly attacked Luo Qintong. Halfway through, the family Nangong members wanted to stop him, but they were all sent flying. They were no match for Ji Yuankuan, whose strength had skyrocketed at this moment. Seeing this attack coming, Ji Feiyu and the others immediately panicked. Suiyu and the others disregarded everything and rushed towards Luo Qintong. Xiaoqi. Ji Feiyu's eyes were red. He directly rushed in front of Suiyu and the others and blocked in front of Luo Qintong, intending to use his body to block this attack. At this moment, he secretly hated the fact that his strength was recovering too slowly. Luo Qintong said that he had a perfected Xiantian body and was the favorite of cultivation. In the future, his strength would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. But why couldn't he feel how fast his strength was increasing? What Xiantian peak? What Xiantian darling? If his aptitude and potential were really so powerful, why couldn't he improve his strength even faster? Why couldn't he improve all the things that he hadn't been able to cultivate for decades? In this way, he wouldn't need to stand beside Luo Qintong and watch her face those dangers without being able to do anything. Take little seven away. Let's go. He abruptly flicked his sleeves, chasing Suiyu and the others to the back. Chu Tianyi and the others were in the family Ji's courtyard. As long as they brought Luo Qintong there, the other party might be able to deal with Ji Yuankuan. This was his only chance, and for this chance, Ji Feiyu was willing to exchange his life for it. Let's go. He shouted angrily, and directly mobilized the power in his body, intending to self-destruct. There was no other way. He had just started cultivating. In terms of strength, it was impossible for him to block Ji Yuankuan's attack, let alone stop the other party from chasing Luo Qintong. Only by self-destructing could he fight for a chance for Luo Qintong and the others. He didn't hesitate to self-destruct. At this moment, a voice sighed behind him. No need, I'm not that weak. Chapter 30:14. Luo Qintong was looking at the huge blood sacrifice array just now. Luo Qingtong sensed it when the array was just activated. But at this moment, the power of her blood eyes had not fully recovered, so she could not see through the layout and weaknesses of the array at a glance, so it took a little more time. Now she looked up and saw Ji Feiyu and the others blocking her side, and Ji Feiyu was ready to explode himself and let Sueyu and the others take her away. She felt a little warm in her heart and said to Ji Feiyu, "Didn't you say before that you thought your strength was growing too slowly?" Her face was indifferent, and the smile on her lips was indescribably light and pleasant. She did not take Ji Yuankuan's attack seriously at all. She just smiled softly and said, "In this case, I'll help you get back everything you lost before. Give me your and uncle's blood." Luo Qingtong said to Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing. Ji Feiyu was already red-eyed with anxiety. He looked at Luo Qingtong and said anxiously, "Little Seven, don't be stubborn anymore. Ji Yuankuan's strength has already risen to the early stage of the human martial arts realm. No one knew that his strength could rise to such an extent. Take it that I'm begging you, okay? Hurry up and leave here. This is really not the time to be stubborn. I'm very happy that you're willing to help me. But at this moment, if you delay like this and his strength rises again, even if you return to the family Ji's residence, you won't be able to leave here again. Little Seven, hurry up and leave. I'm indebted to you, but I guess I can't repay you. Let me send you on your way." Before he finished speaking, Luo Qingtong had already made a clean cut on his wrist and took a drop of blood. Then she made a cut on Ji Yuanqing's hand and took a drop of blood as well. She said helplessly, "I thought that if you did it yourself, you would bleed less. But now it seems that I'll do it myself. Stop the bleeding." As she spoke, she suddenly rose into the air and slashed out with the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand with a loud boom. With a boom, Luo Qingtong's strength instantly rose to the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm, nearing the human martial realm. Her sword strike was clearly extremely ordinary. It was an extremely ordinary sword strike, but in an instant, it shattered Ji Yuankuan's attack into pieces. The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was awe-inspiring, like the red spider lily blooming on the other shore, enchanting and evil. The corners of her lips curled up slightly as she said to Ji Yuankuan, "Old dog, I didn't expect you to have such a move. Since that's the case, I'll use you to raise my strength today." As Luo Qingtong spoke, she immediately raised her hand and slashed at Ji Yuankuan. She had already reached the bottleneck of the human martial realm. Because of Ji Feiyu's large amount of experience and explanations, she already had a deep understanding of the strength of the venerable realm. In addition, she had forcefully suppressed her strength because of the loss of her strength. Luo Qingtong's foundation was now incomparably solid. She didn't have to worry about her foundation being unstable and affecting her advancement. At this moment, she was going to use Ji Yuankuan as a whetstone to sharpen herself into the human martial realm that she was about to break through. Boom! The life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand seemed to weigh 1,000 catties. The sword light from her hand spanned across the wilderness and the stars in the sky. It was like the Milky Way had descended from the sky. Chapter 30:15. The smug smile on the latter's face had not disappeared. He was still immersed in the joy of Luo Qingtong, Ji Feiyu, and the others dying in his hands. He did not expect Luo Qingtong's strength to rise to the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm in an instant. This was the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm. Not the 9th level of the Holy Venerable Realm. Not to mention, even the 9th level of the Holy Venerable Realm could not reach it in an instant. This meant that, you hid your strength. You bitch. Ji Yuankuan gritted his teeth. He looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. He could not believe that she had hidden her strength for so long. 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm. She was actually at the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm, and he did not know at all. How could he know that Luo Qingtong's strength was not present when she used Tuan Zi's strength previously? Under such circumstances, as long as she did not recover her strength, no one would know her true strength, let alone Ji Yuankuan. He was only at the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm previously. As long as Luo Qingtong was willing, even if she did not lose her strength because of Tuanzi, her strength would not be discovered by Ji Yuankuan. Who do you think you are? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she looked down from above. She looked at Ji Yuankuan and said with a chuckle, "You want to see through my strength with just you?" The moment her words left her mouth, Ji Yuankuan was instantly humiliated by her to the point that his eyes almost split open. "Bitch, you bitch!" Before he could speak, he was interrupted by Luo Qingtong. "You only say 1 or 2 sentences every day. Other than this, what else can you scold? I'm a bitch. I wonder what you are when you're even worse than a bitch." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She could not be bothered to argue with him. In fact, she did not even care when these people were scolding her. Would an elephant care about what an ant under its feet scolded it? No, it would not. It would only step over without a care and trample the ant who was scolding it into a pile of bones. To Luo Qingtong, Ji Yuankuan and the others were that ant. What she needed to do was to crush them and not scold them back. Boom! The sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand slashed fiercely on Ji Yuankuan's body, forcing him to swallow the curses that he was about to hurriedly. Her gaze was ice-cold as she slashed her sword light. After Ji Yuankuan's sword, he finally knew how powerful Luo Qingtong was. Luo Qingtong's attack. He looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. His strength was already at the initial stage of the human martial realm, but Luo Qingtong's strength was clearly at the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm, yet she was still suppressing him. That blow just now, he couldn't avoid it at all. If it were not for the fact that he was within the range of the blood sacrifice array and had an endless stream of vitality and strength to block for him and offset the damage from Luo Qingtong's attack, he would have already died under Luo Qingtong's sword. How could she be so strong? How could she be so strong? Ji Yuankuan was shocked. He thought that it would be easy for him to kill Luo Qingtong since she was no longer protected by that human martial realm guard. He did not expect that Luo Qingtong's strength would completely crush him. Fortunately, he still had the power of the blood sacrifice. When his strength increased by another level, he would definitely kill Luo Qingtong. His expression was ferocious. Chapter 30:16. Oh my God! Little Seven is actually. Sueyu's eyes were filled with shock, and she couldn't help but raise her hand to cover her mouth. She raised her head to look at the young lady who was like a queen in the air, and her face was filled with indescribable shock and horror. On the other hand, Ji Feiyu's expression was extremely complicated. He looked at the young lady who was standing in the air and didn't say anything in the end. The power of the 9th level Purple Venerable Realm, the other party's strength was far more powerful than he had imagined. Ji Feiyu's heart dimmed. When Luo Qingtong was still at the Sage Master Realm, he already felt that he might not be able to catch up to her. Now that she was at the 9th level Purple Venerable Realm, he didn't have any more thoughts. The young lady's brilliance was too dazzling. How fortunate was he to be able to meet her. The family Nangong's leader and the others were extremely happy. As expected, this Miss Little Seven is that young Master Little Seven. The family Nangong's leader was pleasantly surprised. He looked at the domineering young lady in the sky and felt an indescribable sense of self-satisfaction. He had indeed made the right bet. As the lover of the master of the underworld, how could she only have this little strength? Not to mention that Luo Qingtong's matter had already spread throughout the Tianfeng region and even the Feixing region. Now, everyone in the 6-star region and above probably knew her name. It was a once-in-a-lifetime good thing that they could rely on her. He was pleasantly surprised, and the other family Nangong were also shocked. They didn't expect Luo Qingtong's strength to be at the 9th level Purple Venerable Realm. Even if she wasn't a young lady from the 9-star region, she shouldn't have such terrifying strength, right? Not to mention that she could hack Ji Yuankuan to the point where he couldn't block it. Everyone could see that if it wasn't for the support of the blood sacrifice array, Ji Yuankuan probably wouldn't have been able to block Luo Qingtong's sword. What kind of concept was this? Luo Qingtong is obviously only at the 9th level of the Purple Venerable Realm, but she has the strength of an early-stage human martial realm martial artist. Oh my god! Just as everyone was shocked, Ji Yuankuan's expression was extremely arrogant. Humph, Luo Shaoqi, your strength is indeed extraordinary. But so what? Can you kill me? Ji Yuankuan laughed out loud. He stood in the air above the training ground of the family Ji. He spread his arms and sensed the life force and strength of the family Ji members around him. He laughed and said, "When all of their strength is poured into my body, I will kill you." His voice was filled with hostility. Luo Qingtong looked at him, raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "So why do you think I've been talking nonsense with you and waiting for you to hit me? You want to rely on this formation to obtain supreme power? It's a pity that the master behind you is dead. Do you think you can defeat me with this array?" Luo Qingtong sneered. If this array was activated by the Yin Demon King himself and increased his strength, maybe she would be a little afraid. But who was Ji Yuankuan? If Chu Tianyi hadn't been injured by the Yin Demon King and didn't come, Ji Yuankuan would have died. Now, Ji Yuankuan would have been a corpse. Luo Qingtong sneered, then raised her hand and flicked the 2 drops of blood into the array. Now you know what Ji Feiyu and the others suffered before, right? Chapter 30:17. The former direct descendants of the family Ji Feiyu and his father, were drained of their life and strength because of Ji Yuankuan's conspiracy. You felt that their strength was not enough to support the family Ji, so you abandoned them like they were worn-out shoes. You didn't care how much they had contributed to the family Ji. Without their contributions, how could you have your current status? You've grown and improved, but you abandoned them in the blink of an eye. How does this pain feel? Ji Feiyu and his father have been through it for more than 20 years. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. She hated betrayers the most in her life, no matter what kind of betrayal it was. The family Ji's people abandoned Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing like worn-out shoes and wantonly humiliated them. In her opinion, this was betrayal. These people's wings had hardened, and their personalities had hardened. They didn't need Ji Feiyu and the others anymore, so they kicked them away. When Luo Qingtong thought of this, she sneered and said, "So many direct descendants of the family Ji had problems at the same time. They couldn't improve their strength anymore and could only wander around the Holy Venerate realm for the rest of their lives. Did you really not have any suspicions?" "No, you did. But if the direct descendants of the family Ji stepped down, there were too many benefits for you. So you turned a blind eye and pretended to be blind in the dark. Is that so? In fact, if Ji Feiyu wasn't still the trash you thought he was, you wouldn't have taken the opportunity to seize Ji Yuankuan's power. Everything you do is for yourselves." When Luo Qingtong said this, Ji Yuanqing and Ji Feiyu widened their eyes. They looked at the people of the family Ji in disbelief. They saw that the elders of the family Ji, who were wailing in the blood sacrifice array, didn't dare to raise their heads to look at them. "So, you know everything." Ji Yuanqing's voice trembled. Compared to Ji Feiyu, he was the one who couldn't take it the most. No one knew how much he had despaired in private because he had not been able to raise the family Ji and meet the expectations of the family Ji. He felt that he had not taken up the responsibility of being a direct descendant of the family Ji. Therefore, for all these years, no matter how unscrupulous and humiliating his clansmen were, he never opened his mouth to defend himself. But now, these people were doing it on purpose. They didn't know that there was a hidden reason behind the decline of the family Ji's direct line of descent, but they never mentioned it. He even came with Ji Yuankuan and the others to humiliate them. Ji Yuanqing didn't know why he had been so obsessed, desperate, and guilty all these years. They were not the only direct descendant of the family Ji. It was just that their family was the main bloodline. Over the years, most of the family Ji's direct descendants had withered away. Those people all left with regret and guilt. These people, these scoundrels, how dare they? Ji Yuanqing's eyes were red. If it weren't for the fact that the family Ji's people were in the blood sacrifice array, he would have pounced on them and torn them apart alive. When Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, the family Ji's people didn't expect her to say what they had once harbored so easily. Everyone looked at Ji Yuanqing's blood-red eyes and couldn't say a word. Ji Yuankuan was also shocked by Luo Qingtong's words. It wasn't because of the thoughts the family Ji's people had once harbored. He had known about those for a long time, but he had never exposed them. Otherwise, why would he abandon these family Ji's people so easily? However, Luo Qingtong's words seemed to have a hidden meaning. Ji Yuankuan's heart was alarmed. He had a feeling that something bad was about to happen. When he thought about how the Yin Demon King had really died in Luo Qingtong's hands, his heart skipped a beat. Chapter 30:18. Boom! There was a sudden explosion in the formation. That explosion came from the place where Luo Qingtong had flicked the 2 drops of blood to. When Ji Yuankuan heard this explosion, the uneasiness in his heart grew even stronger. He looked in Luo Qingtong's direction and shouted sternly, "Bitch, what did you do in this blood sacrifice array?" His heart was thumping wildly. He kept comforting himself that Luo Qingtong couldn't possibly do anything in this blood sacrifice array. This blood sacrifice array was given to him by the Yin Demon King. Ji Yuankuan himself didn't know where that lord came from. But he clearly understood that the thing that the other party gave him wasn't something that an ordinary person could decipher. Or rather, he couldn't even touch it. Luo Qingtong couldn't possibly do anything in this blood sacrifice array. However, just as he thought this, he heard Luo Qingtong say with a chuckle, "Your senses are sharp, but it's a pity that you only realized it now. It's already too late." As Luo Qingtong said this, the curve of her lips suddenly lifted. Then, in front of Ji Yuankuan, she raised her hand and made a seal. She pointed in the direction of the blood sacrifice array and said, "Reverse the flow of the blood sacrifice array, change master." As her voice rang out, Ji Yuankuan instantly felt the power of the blood sacrifice array that was originally enveloping him move away from his body and disappear. He was shocked and stood rooted to the ground. His face was filled with hysteria and disbelief. "No! No! This is impossible!" he shouted angrily. "How can the power of the blood sacrifice array disappear from my body? I'm the main body of this blood sacrifice array. I'm the carrier that Lord wants to seize their power." Ji Yuankuan's mind was completely blank. This blood sacrifice array was forged by the Yin Demon King according to his bloodline connection with the family Ji. It wouldn't stop until it had sucked all the family Ji's life force and power dry. Even the Yin Demon King himself was the same. However, the power of the blood sacrifice array formation had disappeared from his body. What was going on? While his face was filled with shock and disbelief, Luo Qingtong's faint voice sounded. "This blood sacrifice array formation is indeed built with you as the main body and the bloodline connection between you and the family Ji. Once it's activated, it's impossible to stop. But you've forgotten that you're not the only one here who is related to the family Ji. And, you're not the only one who has some sort of connection with the Lord behind you." Luo Qingtong smiled and looked at Ji Yuankuan. "Do you need me to remind you? Back then, how did you snatch the talent, strength, and vitality from Ji Feiyu and his father?" When Luo Qingtong said this, Ji Yuankuan felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. He looked at Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing, who were beside Luo Qingtong. His throat was so dry that he couldn't say anything. How could he forget? He was the one who made the Yin Demon King cast the soul blood curse on Ji Feiyu and his father, causing their strength to decline and their vitality to lose. He even transferred their talent and strength to him in Ji fighting. Under these circumstances, Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing naturally had a special connection with the Yin Demon King. Chapter 30:19. Ah! Just as Ji Yuanquan's voice broke down and he screamed, Luo Qingtong suddenly raised her hand. Then, Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing were instantly enveloped in an extremely vast and majestic light that was full of vitality and power. It was the power transferred by the blood sacrifice array. This power had previously enveloped Ji Yuanquan. Now, Luo Qingtong snatched it away and enveloped Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing. When Luo Qingtong enveloped them with this power, Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing's faces were filled with surprise and joy. They looked at Luo Qingtong and didn't know what to say. This was especially true for Ji Feiyu. His eyes were red and moist. Countless emotions were entangled within them, causing him to be unable to say anything. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She just smiled at them and said, "All right, decades of humiliation and oppression have been washed away in one day. Feiyu, uncle, this is what you deserve. You should have gotten the power and life that belonged to you more than 20 years ago." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. When she snatched control of the blood sacrifice array from Ji Yuanquan, she had already changed the authority and power of this array. As long as Ji Feiyu and the others were unwilling, the family Ji and the others could still keep their lives. They wouldn't end up as dried corpses like before when they were absorbed by Ji Yuanquan. However, it was only limited to keeping their lives. Most of their vitality and power would become Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing's. There would be drawbacks when Ji Yuanquan absorbed the power of this array, and he wouldn't even be able to use it completely. However, this wasn't difficult for Luo Qingtong. She just needed to slightly improve the flaws of this array. The reason why she didn't move and let Ji Yuanquan be arrogant was because she was thinking about this matter. Now that the matter was settled, she could deal with Ji Yuanquan with peace of mind. As for the rest of the family Ji's matter, let Ji Feiyu and Ji Yuanqing settle it. Luo Qingtong wasn't prepared to participate. Old dog. Luo Qingtong licked her lips and looked at Ji Yuanquan. Her eyes were evil, enchanting, and domineering as she said, "It's your turn now." She said that she would use Ji Yuanquan as a whetstone. This was definitely not a joke. As for Ji Yuanquan, he became timid when he lost the power of the blood sacrifice array. He looked at the enchanting and wanton girl opposite him, who was like a demon or a demon, and his heart couldn't help but tremble. His previous lofty aspirations and arrogance had all disappeared. His current strength had vaguely reached the 5th level of the human martial realm. Was close to the 6th level. But for some reason, when he met Luo Qingtong's gaze, he still did not have much confidence. This woman was too terrifying. Ji Yuanquan didn't know how to describe her. He had sent people to investigate before. Luo Qingtong was indeed from the 9-star region, the Star Desolation region. Moreover, she was Mo Zhuling's enemy. He had also investigated the matter of Ji Feiyu's engagement being broken off. Although he scoffed at the matter of Ji Feiyu being able to cultivate and defeat the people of the Lu family, he felt that it was the result of people spreading false information and adding fuel to the fire. However, he was still very shocked by Luo Qingtong. Chapter 30:20. In Ji Yuanquan's opinion, this should be the work of the human martial arts realm bodyguard who followed her. But to be able to obtain the bodyguard's loyalty, this also proved that Luo Qingtong was not ordinary. But who would have thought that compared to the real Luo Qingtong, these thoughts were not worth mentioning at all? How could the other party be treated differently by the Star Alliance because of the guards around her? Clearly, it was her own tyrannical strength that could not be ignored. It was laughable that he naively thought that this was all there was to her. But now, Luo Qingtong had forced him back with a sword and reversed the power transmission of the blood sacrifice array. How could an ordinary girl from the 9-star region do all these things? Not to mention that she was only from the 9-star region. Even if she was from the 6-star region or the 3-star region, she might not be able to do this, right? She was really too terrifying. How could such a person appear in their 8-star region's Dongting region? Just like the Yin Demon King before, Ji Yuankuan could not understand no matter how hard he tried. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's sword had already slashed over. This time, she wasn't like before, where she simply swung her sword out in an ordinary manner. Instead, she used martial arts. Boom! As Luo Qingtong slashed out with her sword, Ji Yuankuan could only hastily block it. In just an instant, with a boom, he was sent flying by Luo Qingtong's attack. Pfft! He spat out a mouthful of blood. If it wasn't for the remaining life force and energy of the Ji family members in his body, he would have been gravely injured by now. How could she be so strong? How could she be so strong? Ji Yuankuan was about to go crazy. And Luo Qingtong's second move was ready. Heaven-conquering art. Luo Qingtong slashed out again with her sword. She was not afraid that she would kill Ji Yuankuan. He still had the remaining life force and strength of the family Ji in his body. He would not die so easily. And for someone as strong as him who was at the 6th level of the human martial realm, there were very few targets that he could beat without any scruples. How could Luo Qingtong not seize the opportunity and make full use of it? She could feel that the 9th level purple venerated realm power within her body was violently boiling. With every slash of her sword, Ji Yuankuan's blocking and dodging made her feel as if she could advance further at any time. Luo Qingtong's sword slashed out one after another. Her speed was getting faster and faster. She looked at the trajectory of Ji Yuankuan's dodging and parrying. Even without using her blood eyes, the other party's movements became clearer and clearer in front of her. As a result, Ji Yuankuan's final parry became more and more strenuous, more and more unable to resist. Boom! After knocking Ji Yuankuan to the ground and making him spit out blood again, Luo Qingtong's overall strength suddenly rose. Boom! Her entire body's aura was boiling and finally, with a boom, it completely exploded. It was as if all living things were rejuvenated after a long period of silence. After the sudden explosion, the power around Luo Qingtong's body suddenly rose again. It was just that the rising power was no longer the aura of the venerated realm from before. Luo Qingtong's strength had increased. She had just entered the human martial realm. Her strength had increased to the level of the human martial realm. Boom! Chapter 30-21. He looked fearfully at the power of the human martial arts realm that erupted from Luo Qingtong's body. His heart and soul were about to explode. Human martial realm strength. She really used him as a whetstone. He was an expert at the 6th level of the human martial realm. Luo Qingtong, a person at the 9th level of the purple venerable realm, actually used him as a whetstone to increase her strength. Not only that, she really succeeded. If this spread out, no one would believe it at all. How could someone at the 9th level of the purple venerable realm torture him, a person at the 6th level of the human martial realm, like torturing dogs? Ji Yuankuan was still thinking that after his strength increased by another level through the power of the blood sacrifice array, he would kill Luo Qingtong and make her die miserably. As a result, his strength had increased to the 6th level of the human martial realm. However, Luo Qingtong, a person at the 9th level of the purple venerable realm, still tortured him without any discussion. Now that her strength had increased to the human martial realm, and the power of his blood sacrifice array had been taken away by her. Could he still be her opponent? Impossible. No one needed to tell him, Ji Yuankun could answer this without hesitation. His mind trembled violently, and he could no longer bear the torture of this fact. In the next moment, Luo Qingtong's strength would increase and she would be unable to take care of him for the time being. He got up from the ground abruptly and rushed to his room, rolling and crawling. There was something left behind by the Yin Demon King that might be able to save his life. As he thought of this, he immediately rushed towards that place like a madman. Luo Qingtong's strength had just increased, and when the old and new powers were replaced, there was a moment of instability, so she didn't notice Ji Yuankun. When she saw him rush into the room, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. She looked at the head of the family Nangong and said, "You guys guard this place. Don't let Ji Feiyu and the others have any problems. After this matter is over, I will remember your kindness." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She didn't beat around the bush with the head of the family Nangong and the others. She didn't care why the other party would try their best to help Ji Feiyu and the others, but it was obvious that this matter was directed at her. Because if the people of the family Nangong wanted to help Ji Feiyu, they wouldn't come to see her before making this decision. Therefore, Luo Qingtong guessed that the head of the family Nangong must have come to see her and confirm something, so he did his best to help Ji Feiyu. Luo Qingtong would remember this favor. After this matter was over, if they had any requests, she could agree to them. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, the head of the family Nangong was instantly overjoyed. He had indeed come for Luo Qingtong, and was prepared to get close to Luo Qingtong by using his close relationship with Ji Feiyu and the others to establish a relationship with her. Now that Luo Qingtong had said such words, it was obvious that she was willing to accept them. How could he not be overjoyed? As for making requests and conditions, he didn't even think about it. What conditions and requests could be compared to Luo Qingtong's brilliant future? This was the lover of the master of the palace of the underworld, the little seventh young master who was revered and praised by everyone in the Tianfeng region. Oh, no, it should be called little seventh young lady now. Chapter 30:22. Speaking of this, in order to prevent Luo Qingtong from being unhappy about her identity being exposed, he immediately mouthed 3 words to Luo Qingtong, Tianfeng domain. Hearing his words, Luo Qingtong smiled at once. I see. She chuckled. No wonder the family Nangong people were so attentive to Ji Feiyu. It turned out that they had found out her identity. The family Nangong leader was also clever. After knowing her identity, he didn't reveal his identity casually. Instead, he wanted to get close to Ji Feiyu by befriending her. Luo Qingtong didn't reject such a little trick. After all, everyone wanted to climb up the social ladder. Not to mention that the family Nangong people had paid a price to help Ji Feiyu. Why would she reject such an open and above-board way? Luo Qingtong hated those who played tricks on her. They didn't want to do anything but wanted to get benefits from her. Those people simply played others like fools. However, Luo Qingtong was not a fool. If those people offended her, she would torture them until they called her father. On the contrary, the family Nangong leader, who gave people and resources to her and openly used the opportunity to help her, was more in line with her temperament and taste. She looked at the family Nangong leader's uneasy face and said, "It's okay. I know this. I'll keep it in mind." As soon as her words came out, the family Nangong leader's face was overjoyed. Luo Qingtong's words showed that she didn't care about the fact that he used Ji Feiyu's name to get close to her and was ready to accept them. Oh my God! The head of the family Nangong was pleasantly surprised. He quickly patted his chest and promised that he would protect Ji Feiyu and the others. He would not let them come to any harm. Luo Qingtong nodded. She didn't say anything more to him. With a leap, she rushed into Ji Yuankun's room. As the head of the family, Ji Yuankun's room and main courtyard were the closest to the martial arts practice field. After all, the family G's conference hall was right next to the martial arts practice field. It was where important meetings and decisions were held. He lived nearby so that it would be convenient for him to come and go. However, Luo Qingtong was thinking that this might not be the end of it. It would also be beneficial for him to observe the cultivation of the family G disciples and see who was more outstanding. He could then seize the opportunity to steal their life force and strength for himself and the Yin Demon King. Luo Qingtong rushed into the room as she thought of this. There was no one in the huge room. Only the secret mechanism by the wall was activated. It was clear that Ji Yuankun had forgotten to close the door in his panic. Of course, it was useless even if he closed it. After confirming that he had rushed into the room, even if it wasn't Luo Qingtong, any other expert of the same level would be able to easily tear down the room and discover the secret room. Luo Qingtong's figure didn't stop. She directly rushed into the secret room. She had a feeling that this secret room might have something to do with the Yin Demon King. Otherwise, Ji Yuankun wouldn't be in such a hurry. It was as if he was grabbing onto his last life-saving straw. It just so happened that the Yin Demon King's background couldn't be compared to others. His identity as a demon also made Luo Qingtong apprehensive. She was originally prepared to carefully investigate after killing Ji Yuankun. She wanted to see if the Yin Demon King was completely dead. Otherwise, if there was any oversight, the Yin Demon King would have a chance to escape. That would cause endless trouble. Chapter 30-23. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she immediately rushed forward even faster. At this moment, in the secret room, in the huge underground cave, Ji Yuankun's figure appeared in front of the huge statue in a panic. Usually, as long as they stepped into this cave, the huge statue would sense it. But this time, he had already rushed to the front of the huge statue, but it didn't react at all. Ji Yuankun was shocked and broke down. Obviously, what Luo Qingtong said before was all true. That lord, he was afraid that he had really. Ji Yuankun didn't dare to continue thinking about it. With a panicked expression, he ran to the foot of the statue and circled around it continuously. There must be something. There must be something that can save me. As he muttered these words, he suddenly glanced to the side and caught a glimpse of a place not far from the statue. Instantly, his eyes narrowed. It was a small table with a brocade box on it. Ji Yuankun remembered that in the past, the Yin Demon King had asked them to make a choice and asked if they were willing to be loyal to it and become its most loyal subordinates and soldiers. It could allow them to quickly obtain the power it gave them without any effort. But the prerequisite was that they had to become one of its kind. Ji Yuankun and Ji Fighting both refused. They didn't want to give up their human identity. Not to mention, they didn't even know the identity of the Yin Demon King and how it became like this. What if they became like it and also faced an extremely bad situation like it? As the two thought of this, they immediately rejected this matter. Because of this, the Yin Demon King later asked them to choose people from their family G so that it could cast a blood curse and absorb the other party's soul power to recover its vitality. At the same time, it would give its power back to them. After such a long time, Ji Yuankun had almost forgotten about this matter. But now that he saw this brocade box, he suddenly remembered. Because back then, the Yin Demon King had told them that if they changed their minds, they could eat the thing in the brocade box at any time. At that time, it would give them the same power as it. Now that he saw this brocade box, Ji Yuankun remembered everything. He trembled as he took the brocade box. He tried a few times but couldn't open it. Once he opened this brocade box, he would no longer have any path of retreat. As Ji Yuankun thought of this, his heart trembled. His hands trembled violently. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's figure appeared at the entrance of the cave. Seeing Luo Qingtong's figure appear, Ji Yuankun's body trembled violently. After that, he no longer cared about anything else and opened the brocade box. Without even looking at it, he scooped up the item inside and put it into his mouth. Ah! The moment that thing entered his mouth, Ji Yuankuan's body suddenly trembled violently. Then, he let out an extremely miserable cry. His figure suddenly expanded and shrunk in an instant. It was like a human-shaped plasticine being kneaded by a pair of invisible hands, constantly changing into various shapes. It was really chilling to look at. Chapter 30-24. In the next second, an extremely sharp voice came out of his mouth. Ha ha ha. Idiot, do you really think that anyone can easily obtain my power? As he spoke, Ji Yuankuan's figure instantly turned into the Yin Demon King's appearance. Kiki, it feels really good to be able to obtain a body. Little b asterisk tch, it's all thanks to you this time. I'll treat you well later. I'll definitely make sure you die miserably. Kiki. The Yin Demon King's voice laughed sinisterly. It stood on the ground and stretched its limbs and bones. It felt really comfortable. Haha, that idiot Ji Yuankuan. He thought that I took out this thing to make them loyal to me. In reality, the Yin Demon King was already prepared to take over their bodies. Unfortunately, Ji Yuankuan and his son were both more cunning and more cautious than the other. The Yin Demon King couldn't find a way to do it. Naturally, it could only give up and settle for the next best thing, which was to let them prepare to restore its true body. As for the item that contained his divine consciousness avatar, it was set aside. However, it didn't expect that Ji Yuankuan would eat this thing after being chased by Luo Qingtong to the point where he had nowhere to go. Kiki, this time, his body belonged to it. As the Yin Demon King thought this, it suddenly raised its hand and pulled Ji Yuankuan's soul out of his body. It opened its mouth and swallowed it. Ji Yuankuan's figure kept struggling, but it was completely useless. The Yin Demon King, who had taken control of his body, wasn't something that he could deal with. Furthermore, his soul had already been completely imprisoned by the Yin Demon King. Ji Yuankuan's heart was filled with pain. He didn't expect that he would end up like this. If he hadn't coveted the power that the Yin Demon King gave him back then, would this scene have happened? However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Ji Yuankuan could only be eaten alive by the Yin Demon King with a belly full of regret and pain. His body screamed as he disappeared into the Yin Demon King's mouth. Only then did the latter have the opportunity to look at Luo Qingtong. She laughed sharply, "Little bitch, are you ready?" Its expression was cruel, and it looked at Luo Qingtong as if it was looking at a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She didn't feel anything when she looked at it. In the eyes of others, the scene of Ji Yuankuan being eaten alive might be extremely impactful and cruel. But in Luo Qingtong's eyes, she didn't feel anything. As a paragon ocular sorcerer in her previous life, she had seen many sinister and cruel methods. The Yin Demon King was just child's play. However, she narrowed her eyes and looked at the Yin Demon King in front of her. The other party had indeed left a backup plan with Ji Yuankuan. Was this the incarnation of a split soul trying to seize another body and be reborn? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. Unfortunately, it had met her. Since the Yin Demon King had already died once before, then this time, she would make sure that it was completely dead. While Luo Qingtong's gaze was indifferent, the Yin Demon King finally became angry out of humiliation. It originally thought that Luo Qingtong would panic. From Ji Yuankuan's memories, it knew that Chu Tianyi didn't come with Luo Qingtong this time. Chapter 30-25. Shouldn't she have shrieked the moment she saw me? Shouldn't she have run away at lightning speed? Or should she have knelt down and begged for mercy? Luo Qingtong's calmness made the Yin Demon King feel an indescribable humiliation. It looked at Luo Qingtong and shouted sternly, "Little slut, the people around you are not by your side. Right now, you are completely alone and helpless. If you kneel down and kowtow to me immediately and beg for mercy, perhaps I will spare your life." Its voice was sinister and cold, and it carried a sense of ridicule and humiliation as if it was waiting to watch a good show. It wanted to see how Luo Qingtong would kneel down and beg for mercy in front of it. It wanted to take revenge for the time when its soul was killed by her at the family Ji courtyard. When it said those words, Luo Qingtong's eyebrows suddenly twitched. Then, she looked at it and chuckled, "You must have said something wrong, right? I should have said that if you kneel down and beg for mercy, perhaps I will leave you with an intact corpse." As Luo Qingtong said this, she smiled sweetly and pointed at herself. It was obvious that she was saying this for the Yin Demon King to hear. The I she was referring to was also referring to herself. When the Yin Demon King heard Luo Qingtong's words, it was instantly enraged. "Slut, you're courting death." As it said this, it immediately charged towards Luo Qingtong. She refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Did she still think that it was the same soul that was unable to retaliate after being struck by her earlier? The Yin Demon King's face was filled with rage. Almost instantly, it charged in front of Luo Qingtong. However, Luo Qingtong did not panic when she saw it charging over. She only slashed at it with her sword. Ha ha ha. Originally, when the Yin Demon King saw that Luo Qingtong was so calm, it thought that she had some way to deal with it. In the end, when it saw that she still slashed at it with her sword, it immediately laughed wildly. The cautious feeling in his heart was also swept away. Is this all you have? Your strength is not bad. You've actually reached the human martial arts realm. Your attack is also very powerful, far surpassing that of an ordinary human martial arts realm expert. However, if Ji Yuankuan was here, perhaps he would not be able to block your attack. But the person you're facing now is me. Ha ha ha. The Yin Demon King laughed wildly in its heart, without the slightest trace of worry. This Luo Shaoqi probably thought that she could kill him in one fell swoop just because her strength had improved. Unfortunately, it was not as stupid as Ji Yuankuan. As Luo Qingtong's attack, Luo Qingtong, Luo Qingtong, Luo Qingtong, Qingtong S. Luo tease, how? Ha! The Yin Demon King laughed maniacally and swung his claws at Luo Qingtong. In an instant, its strength actually broke through to the earth martial arts realm. This was done by force. Ji Yuankuan's body still had some remaining life force and power from the blood sacrifice. After being forcibly refined by it, it was raised to the level of the early stage of the earth martial arts realm. The Yin Demon King's heart was extremely treacherous. Although he was already very confident that he would win against Luo Qingtong, he was still very confident. However, it was still not at ease. Chapter 30-26. This way, no matter what Luo Qingtong was doing, she would still die without a doubt. However, just as it was thinking this, it saw the corner of Luo Qingtong's lips curl up. Then, she looked at the Yin Demon King and chuckled, "I didn't expect us to think of the same thing." If that's the case, when Luo Qingtong said this, the smile on her lips deepened. "This time, you won't be able to escape, right?" As she said this, the Yin Demon King's expression froze. It looked at Luo Qingtong and its smile froze. What did this woman say? What did she mean by thinking of the same thing? Wait a minute. The Yin Demon King's brain froze. It looked at Luo Qingtong's smile and its brain buzzed, as if it was about to explode. Luo Qingtong was talking about strength. This bitch was also hiding her strength. When it thought of this, the Yin Demon King's eyes widened. At this moment, an extremely strong sense of danger suddenly rang out in its heart. Then, it saw Luo Qingtong retract the sword that was originally slashing towards it. Then, Luo Qingtong clenched her fists and punched towards it. Heaven and Earth Tyrant Fist. Luo Qingtong punched out. In an instant, the entire underground cave shook violently. If not for the fact that this cave was deep underground and was surrounded by soil, it would have been impossible to escape. Luo Qingtong's attack would have caused the ground to shake and the cave to collapse. Luo Qingtong's right hand gripped the hilt of her sword and almost instantly met the Yin Demon King's attack. Boom! The Yin Demon King's attack met Luo Qingtong's fist. The young girl's fist was small, white, and tender. She looked like she had been pampered. She had an air of nobility and gentleness that seemed to have never done any household chores. However, in the eyes of the Yin Demon King, this fist was like a soul-reaping blow from the King of Hell. It looked at Luo Qingtong's punch in shock. It emitted a terrifying aura that caused the core of its soul to tremble violently. Its eyes were filled with shock. It had no time to dodge and was hit by Luo Qingtong's punch. Ah! The terrifying Yin Demon fiendish chi surrounding the Yin Demon King instantly disappeared. Not only that, but the power and aura around its body also melted like snow in the winter. Boom! Ah! Its body trembled violently, and in the next second, Luo Qingtong's punch smashed it into pieces of flesh. The tyrannical fist of heaven and earth, dominating the world and destroying the 9 continents. When the Yin Demon King's body disappeared, its eyes were still deeply imprinted with extreme fear. It wasn't because of the power of Luo Qingtong's punch, but because of the origin of her punch. It was actually the heaven and earth tyrant fist. That was the famous fist technique of the Supreme Being. The Yin Demon King's heart was shaken to the extreme, and she was also filled with regret. If it had known that Luo Qingtong was related to the other party, it definitely wouldn't have allowed Ji Yuankuan and his son to provoke the other party. No, it should have directly wrung their necks and delivered them to Luo Qingtong. The Yin Demon King disappeared unwillingly. This time, it didn't have any room to escape. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.